This meeting is being recorded.
Can I also ask everyone to turn on their videos? Just 1 second. I don't know if you can see me. Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello. Perfect. So the meeting is being recorded. I know we have just a few minutes of delay, but without further ado, let's go ahead. So a very warm good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us for the SheTrades Zambia webinar. And today's session is an e-coffee session with Prospero. But before we begin, before I give a quick introduction, I would just like to highlight some housekeeping rules so that we have a successful webinar without any disruptions today. So I kindly request all our participants today to please keep your mics on mute. Please keep your cameras off. We are asking you to do that so we can optimize our data connection and we run without any disruptions. We are also recording this session. So in case you're having any issues, don't panic, do not worry. We will be sharing this recording with you after the webinar, along with the presentation slides, right? In terms of the logistics of the webinar, of course, you have your moderator, which is myself. I am Kriti Sharma. I know some of you know me already, but I'm working specifically on the SheTrades Zambia project, a lot on implementation and monitoring and evaluation. I also have my lovely colleagues here, Ms. Chaleshe, who's our national coordinator, and Liz Becerra, who is leading on the access to finance component in Zambia. So we will be your moderators today, answering your questions, making sure that you are having a good experience. And if you're having any technical difficulties, do let us know. The format of the webinar would be around 35 to 40 minutes of presentation by our dear speakers who I'll be introducing very soon. And we will dedicate the last 10 to 15 minutes for a Q&A session. To facilitate this session, I really encourage you all to use the chat box, which is at the bottom right of your screen. So please let us know where you're joining us from, the province. If you have any questions, share your feedback. Let's make this an interactive session as we go along, and definitely use this chat box to share your questions with us. And I will be asking our speaker and addressing these questions and getting you the answers that you need. Also, very importantly, do not forget that we will have a quick poll towards the end. So please do not leave, right when we enter the Q&A session, because your feedback is very, very important to us. And we want to make sure that we are giving you exactly what you need and the sessions are relevant and exactly what you need to grow your businesses. So this is just a bit of housekeeping, technical rules for the webinar. Without further ado, let me just quickly explain to you what the webinar is about today. So you all know what the SheTrades Zambia project is. You know that we are working in collaboration with the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry and Zambia Development Agency, thanks to the support of EIF and FCDO. And the goal of this project is just to make sure that every Zambian woman entrepreneur everywhere, is able to take advantage of trade opportunities, able to maximize her participation in the economy, and is able to access business and investment opportunities. And especially, during COVID and after COVID, it's very, very important for women to really raise funds for her business. And we are delighted to partner with the rising institutions like Prospero, who has such a key vision with ITC and also SheTrades Zambia to make sure that they are investing in women, to make sure that they are understanding exactly what women need and continue to evolve themselves and their offerings to cater to the needs of the women. So just a quick note about Prospero. It's an independent, not-for-profit organization, which is currently funded by the UK Aid, which is also known as the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office of the United Kingdom. Prospero's areas of expertise are investment facilitation. They also work a lot on market system development, and they are really specialized, and they are the industry experts right now on strengthening small and medium-sized enterprises. So today, we are very excited to have Prospero here, and we're going to learn a bit more about their Agriculture Women Business Fund. So what is this about? What is the use of it? Who can apply? How can you respond to a call? I know you have so many questions, and we are here to answer all of these. So let me just go on to the next slide and introduce to you our wonderful speakers for today. So a very warm welcome to all three of you. I will start with Ms. Namaya Morero, and my apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, Namaya. She is the sector lead of investment services. She has spent most of her career supporting private sector development in Zambia. And in Prospero, her role involves strengthening the local impact investment ecosystem to facilitate more investment towards growth-oriented companies. She has also worked in the past in World Food Program, TechnoServe, ZATAC, and the American Chamber of Commerce. So she really brings that expertise to the table. And Namaya, it's such a pleasure and honor to have you here. A second speaker for today is Claire van der Clay. And Claire, apologies again if I'm mispronouncing this, who is the sector lead on food and agriculture. She is a results-oriented entrepreneurial and multilingual professional with expertise in agriculture and inclusive business through East and Southern Africa. And her role in Prospero really focuses on increasing the presence and competitiveness on Zambian origin food products in end consumer markets. She really has acquired key experience in capacity building of MSMEs, market and trade linkages, project management, and resource mobilization. Thank you so much for being here, Claire, and a big welcome to you. And our third speaker is Chabota Nelson Nayoba, who's the Food and Agriculture Manager of Prospero. He is a business development expert with over 14 years of professional experience in business development, coaching, training, design and management, project management, value chain analysis, and also monitoring and evaluation. He has worked in different ranges, different areas in agriculture, rural development, and health sectors. So a very warm welcome to all three of our speakers. It's such a pleasure to have you here, and we pass the floor to all of you now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well?
Loud and clear.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you for the invitation to present what we're doing, and especially on this Women Business Fund. We're very excited to be able to have this call for concepts out to support women businesses in the food and agriculture space. So today we'll just take you through quickly on why we have this call, what we have intended with this call, and how you can apply to this. And we'd like to keep enough time for any questions on how to apply for that. Can you please change the slide? Thank you. The introduction for Prospero has already been done, so thank you for that. Just to give you a bit more idea, we don't just work in food and agriculture, we also do work in manufacturing and mining services, tourism and biotrade, investment services has also been mentioned, and business services. So if you're ever interested in anything else we do, feel free to contact us. We can give you more information about that. Please, next slide. So what type of projects can you submit for this call? We have currently a call for concepts for the Women Business Fund on our website. So if you are looking to get more of the details of that, we will show that to you later on our website. But what we're really looking at is providing support to women businesses that require support to projects that they are looking to scale up their businesses or innovate anything that they're doing within their businesses. And the type of support that we can provide are two ways. We can look at technical assistance. So what that means is really if there is a company that is looking for a specific expertise to help you grow your business, we can help provide that. So for example, if you're looking to improve your packaging and you need some assistance on how to do this packaging and you want to hire an expert to do that, then that's the type of support we could provide. The other one we call business innovation, which is looking really at how you can scale up your project with a specific innovation. So that could cover any costs that have to do with that innovation. So this could be, training costs. It could be things like if you're trying to process, looking at specific equipments that you're looking for. So those type of costs to help you scale up those businesses. So those are the two types of areas that we look at. You can also apply for a combination of both. So it's not that you have to apply for either one. You could also request for both type of support. Next slide, please. So for this Women Business Fund particularly, what we're aiming for is we really want to work with women businesses that are looking to scale up their businesses and innovate. And the reason why we've made this specific for women entrepreneurs is because we see there's a lot that women are doing in the agriculture space, but the access to finance is sometimes difficult. And so what we really want to do with this type of support is help women businesses be able to access financing in different forms to help them scale up their businesses. And if we are able to help you as a company be able to scale up your business, our intention is that you would be able to access other type of financing beyond the financing that we provide. So from more commercial financing institutions. And my colleague Namaya works in the investment services. There could also be an opportunity for you to grow your business and access other types of investment, like impact investment as well. So that's really our intention with this call. One of the things that we're really looking at is what type of projects you can submit. So we've talked about the type of support you can receive, but we're also looking at specific areas where we think there's a lot of opportunities for women entrepreneurs to grow. And so we really want to stimulate women businesses to go into these type of areas. So the first one is improved nutrition. So what we're looking at is for businesses that are coming up with innovative ways on developing nutritious food products. So this could be technologies, it could be services, it could be actual product development. The second one is sustainable agriculture. So we're looking at where women businesses are looking at, climate smart agricultural solutions. So this could be any types of solutions that are contributing to reducing climate change. Again, it can be about production, it can be about technologies, it can be about services. So we think this is a really interesting area for more women businesses to be involved in. And then lastly, we also are looking for projects in the small livestock sector, specifically in the goat sector, but not exclusively, fruits and vegetables, and the legume sectors. The reason why we've included this as well is that these are our core initiatives as Prospero. And so we have a lot of work. We've already worked a lot with businesses in that sector, and we feel that by promoting this, we could have a lot more women businesses that can be linked up to other private sector and build up that sector with the private sector companies we've worked with. We do a lot of work with what we call consortium building, which means that we're trying to build the sectors with collaboration between private sector. So in addition to supporting companies with financing opportunities, we can also provide support for you to be able to have linkages to new markets, maybe input suppliers, technologies, and things like that. So if you were to be successful in your application and get a contract with us, we could also provide that type of support in addition to the financing. So that's really, the areas we would really like to see project proposals in. Next slide, please. So how is this grant structured? So basically, we look at two elements in this grant, and I'll explain how this works and why we're doing this. But the way our grants work are that they are reimbursable and returnable. So what does this exactly mean? The first element on reimbursable basically means that when you receive a grant, so for example, you are applying for a project that's about £10,000, we will request for you to deliver on specific deliverables in the project. So for example, if you're saying we're going to be training farmers and we're going to buy some equipment, we will ask you to conduct the trainings, and once you can prove to us you've successfully done those trainings, that will unlock an opportunity for you to claim the funds. So it won't be the complete grant, it will just be a portion of the grant that will be unlocked by completing that activity. Once you've done that and you've completed another activity, the same process will happen. So basically it means that you would need to have the capacity and funds available to invest into the project yourself initially. And then once you have completed specific activities successfully, you would be able to get the grants and reimbursed, so the cost reimbursed. So that's basically how that part of the grant works. I think that's the most important element here. The other part of the grant is that what we are proposing is that the grant is actually a returnable grant, which means that we are requesting businesses to pay back the grant. So again, if you have a grant of £10,000, we would want to set up a plan for you to be able to pay that grant back over time. And those conditions would be negotiated by, depending on each of the projects that we would look at. So that would be negotiated individually, depending on your capacity, depending on your type of project. But we're expecting that would have to be paid back within a maximum of 1 year. The type of projects that we envision is projects that would be implemented between 6 months and a year. It could be shorter, it could be slightly longer. But with that in mind, as an average, we would want the grant to be paid back over a period of 1 year. So this is interest-free. There's no interest there. The reason why we have this as part of our grant is because we want to build the capacity of women businesses to be able to pay back funds that they have received. And I think this is a good preparation for companies to realize what it means to pay back a loan, for example, from a financial institution. So our mandate is not only to give financing, but also to build the capacity of businesses to understand and help them how it would be like to pay back funds. So that's the intention of this structure. In the call, you will see that it's possible to have a combination of both. So we will assess accordingly if we would request you to pay back the full grant, or if you would only pay back part of the grant. So to take the same example, if you would have £10,000 in your contract, we might request you to pay back 5,000, and the other 5,000 would be given to you as a grant, which would not need to be paid back. That would help, for some cases, we would see that would be a way of helping the company to use the funds to build their business, but also for them to learn on how to pay back. So that combination is also possible. Next slide, please. So I've gone through most of this already. Part of this grant structure is either you would receive 100% a returnable grant or a combination. And the combination of just a pure grant or half of a returnable grant could be done up to 50%. So that means you could have a 50% returnable grant. So with the same example of 10,000, you would have 5,000 as a returnable grant and the other 5,000 as a normal grant. Now, that means we will never go above that. So you will not be able to have 100% a grant that is not paid back. So that is one of the things that we would really want to emphasize here. It would never be a grant that is fully a pure grant. There would always be an element of paying back part of the grant. Next slide, please. So who can apply for the Women Business Fund? So we have some standard requirements for companies to apply. So we would really need the company to be registered and tax compliant. And this is a fund for companies, so it's not for individuals. And this fund specifically is for women businesses. And the way we define that is a women-led or a women-owned business. So these could be companies that are led by a majority of women in senior management, or 50% or more shares are owned by the female owner. So we would request for some evidence towards that to know that you would qualify for that. We want you to be a registered legal entity in Zambia. You need to be tax registered and compliant, and also an authorized business activity. So you need to have all the licenses and permits in place for the business that you're doing. And we want you to be post-revenue. So we really don't look at startups in this fund. We really want companies that have at least a minimum trading history of 2 years. So that is really our standard for companies to apply. The reason why we have that is because we are looking to use this fund to help companies scale up their businesses, not to start. So we really want to see companies that are ready to take that next step in scaling up their businesses. Yes, that's I think what we wanted to share on our criteria. Next slide, please. So we thought it would be good to just share on, what we look at in a strong application and how you can apply for this fund. So I'll hand it over to my colleague Chabota to give you a bit more information of how you could apply and what we would be looking for.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to run you through a few tips and tricks on preparing a strong application, as well as a few key highlights of what you could look out for to ensure that you have a good application. As you might know that the application process is competitive and project submission is subjected to the criteria which Claire has shared. And so it's very important that projects have both a commercial and sustainable oriented approach. Also, we need to see how committed you are as a partner. And what we're looking for here is how is this project going to benefit the SME from a commercial perspective, and also what are some of the social benefits which will come as a result of this project being implemented. And to what extent are you as an SME committed to ensuring that this project is a success? This can be proven by you committing to manage this project in maybe certain way. One of them would be around making a few contributions. And this can be, say, you have maybe a farm where you're going to run this project, and you have land that you want to commit towards this project. Already that shows that you are interested to make this whole intervention and initiative work. And this is the reason why I think if you got clear correctly, we talked about not focusing on startups, but already existing businesses that require a little push for them to be able to meet some of their ambitions and aspirations. Applications should also be able to display a level of sufficient capacity in terms of technical, managerial, and financial capacity. So to what extent do you have knowledge and also financial capacity to manage this? Because you're already running a business, which means that you have a certain level of cash flow that comes into your business. And with a little push, you want to expand or maybe increase on the scope. And so we need to prove that and be able to know that even when it comes to technical expertise, at least we have the right expertise for you to make this a success. Projects should also introduce some level of innovation. So what new product are you bringing to the table, or maybe a new service or a business model as a means to address the market challenge? So we really want to see your creativity on this one in terms of coming up with a new idea or perhaps a service or a model that you would want to implement in the scope of your project and maybe your application. Projects should also generate benefits for women, youth, the disabled, and rural population. And here we are looking at either directly or indirectly. One of the key things maybe that you'd want to highlight is around employment creation. This could be formal and informal employment that you're going to create as a result of your intervention, or maybe you're going to target more of women of a certain percentage as well as youths, or maybe the disabled. So we really want that to come out and for you to show how that is going to impact. Projects should also contribute positively to areas of nutrition, climate change mitigation, resilience, and adaptation. Also, a few key areas that we encourage. Of course, there could be multiple. You can also be looking at maybe technology, depending on the innovation that you want to explore. But what we want to see is how can you contribute to some of these current challenges that we are facing. Globally, it could also be maybe nationwide, especially if you look at maybe Zambia in terms of the nutritional report. Maybe you might be interested to look at some nutrition innovation there. Applications should also be able to demonstrate existing and relevant experience regarding the proposed project. To what extent do you have experience to upscale this project that you want to venture into, or maybe scale up? There should be a level of experience in terms of track record of what you've already put in place or what you currently have, which will catalyze, if provided with this kind of support, for you to be able to move to the next level. And this can be exhibited maybe through valid trading licenses, or maybe permits, or certain successes that you might have scored in the past. It could be orders for a certain product that you are supplying that you can prove and also show. Projects should have a maximum duration of 18 months. We are currently looking at short projects, so we're not looking at very long projects. And this is the reason why we're targeting those that are already operational and only require a little bit of a push. So the duration maximum should be about 18 months. This is like 1 year, 6 months, and there's no minimum duration. So you can work within the 18 months and look at how you can manage time-wise in terms of meeting the objectives that you've set up in your proposal. Next slide. A few tips and tricks. Number one is you need to have a formalized business. So this core is targeting formalized businesses. What that means that if you are an individual and not a legal entity, you can be a sole proprietor, which is possible because you are registered but you trade alone. But if you're just an individual who is not a legal entity, in this case, I don't think you'll be able to qualify because you're not formalized. The other trick is that you need to have a clear, profitable, and sustainable business proposal. So your business proposal should be something that exhibits profitability and sustainability. As you apply, please understand the fundable businesses. You can have your own idea, but try to align what you're applying for to what we are targeting, because that is where we base our criteria and evaluation to look at whether you really meet what is required or not. Respond to the core according to instructions. I think the core has got different steps and also the instructions attached to it. Please make sure that you follow the instructions. If there are any documents that are required for you to attach, ensure that those are attached, because then if you don't, that might have you disqualified, or you may not move to the next step. As you put together your proposal, ensure that you package your proposal very well by outlining your idea concisely. And what this means is that it should be clear in terms of what you would want to achieve, who is going to benefit, how it's going to benefit the business, how it's going to grow your business, how it's going to impact, and what sustainability is going to bring ultimately. Please try to be gender and youth inclusive and be climate friendly in your approach, as well as have a sustainability plan on how you continue running your business even after this funding has ended. So you should be able to show it to us that beyond this, the business will still stand and the business is not dependent on this funding, but it's something that will be able to sustain. Next slide. Include both current and projected income or revenue figures. I think this is something when you're looking at your cash flows, would want to see where you're coming from and where you would want to be. It's very easy for people to project in the future, but I think for us to really be able to know whether you have the ability to pay, for example, if you're looking at a returnable grant, it's more based on historical data and what you have done in the past, perhaps what you have been up to as a business, for us to really understand that there's potential and scope for you to be able to pay back. Please ensure that you use realistic financial figures and costings, and this is mainly for purposes of value for money. As we evaluate, if we realize that certain figures are not really realistic, of course, we do enter into a negotiation process to a certain extent, but we'll try by all means to ensure that we concentrate our energies on something that is at least realistic enough for us to move to the next stage. So what this means is that if you need to get real costs, you can even get maybe current market value costs. Maybe you want to acquire something, but also put a note that this is subject to change in the event of maybe inflationary adjustments or things like that. Show how the project is going to impact in terms of job creation, maybe increase in hectareage if you're talking about production, any other positive impact that the project is going to have. Please make sure that is clearly outlined in your proposal. Would also want to see how interested you are in investing in the project yourself and the level of ownership, and this can only be proven by you having to indicate the value of own contribution. As you are going to be looking at the budget, this can be maybe you have a piece of land or you have a motor vehicle. We're not going to ask you for title deeds or anything else, but at some point we might need to verify that really those things are owned by you, and those are your own contributions, because I think there is a make or break aspect that comes in an event that you declare something that doesn't belong to you and the owner comes in to claim it. The project may suffer some loss there. Thank you very much. I'll hand it back to Claire.
Thank you very much, Chibota, for that. Just from a lot of the comments also in the chat, I think it would just be good to highlight that we are looking to provide a maximum grant of about £20,000 for one company. That does not mean that 20,000 is guaranteed, but we will not likely give a company more than that. So I thought it would just be good to highlight that. That doesn't mean that, you know, if your project is bigger than that and you can invest into it yourself, you could still apply to that and let us know. So, you know, we see ourselves as contributing to bigger projects in that sense as well. So you can keep that in mind. Next slide, please. So how you can apply. One of the things I wanted to actually show is the actual website. So I just wanted to ask my colleagues here if it would be possible for me to share that, or if you could share the website, then I can take everyone through the exact steps of how to apply. I can share the link. Shilesha, would that be possible?
Hi, Kriti. I think you're sharing your screen. Would it be possible maybe if Claire starts sharing her screen?
Yes,
Yeah,
just give me 1 second.
Great.
I think you can now start sharing, Claire.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So this is the main website. I've just shared the link in the chat. So this is the main page. So to be able to apply to this fund, you'll need to go to support and opportunities, and then you will look at active funding opportunities. So if you click on that, it'll take you to all the opportunities that we currently have. And the one that you would be looking at is the Call for Concepts Food, Agriculture, Women Business Fund. So when you click on download, you will find the Call for Concepts and all the instructions given in there. And I will show you the last page. This is the page that would be important for you to have a look at, which has all the instructions of how to apply. So basically, when you have looked into this and you feel that you qualify and you have a good project that you would like to submit for funding, what you will need to do is go back to this page and enter your details. So the Call for Concepts that you download is basically the instructions to give you all the information. But for actual application, we need you to fill this out. So you will need to include your first name, your last name, your company name, the industry that you're in, so you can indicate where you're at. We kind of assume that you'll be in agriculture, but if there's other things, you can also indicate that. Email, your mobile number or any other phone number that you have, and then the sector. So the sector you would select is food and agriculture, since this is an agriculture women business fund. And the initiative that you would fall under, you can select what your project is related to. If you feel that nothing fits, then choose one that is most like what you are doing. We only have limited selections at the moment. That will not affect your application. It just helps us to categorize where you are. But if you do not fit within any of these, do not fear that. Please just select one of them just to help you get through this process. If you have any challenges with that, you can always call us or contact us about that. And then your project title. This is just to give us an indication of what you're proposing to us. Then you press the submit button. So when you press the submit button, you will automatically get an email back with the application templates. So this will be a concept note template where we will ask you to describe your project and give us details. And then you will also be asked to fill in a self-assessment form where we ask you to answer some questions about your business. So those are the two forms that we will be requesting you to provide. Maybe I'll stop sharing my screen and then you can bring back the presentation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Perfect. Just 1 second. Can you see my screen? No.
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Okay, now it's gone.
1 second. Can you just confirm that you can see the right screen?
No, you need to switch it. Swap it.
Now?
There you go.
Perfect.
Yes.
Do you want me to go to the next slide? Okay.
Yeah, no, this is fine. So we will be assessing applications on a rolling basis. So that means if you submit today and we receive it, we will assess it and get back to you on your applications. We will not wait for the deadline. So the deadline we have asked everyone to submit to is on the 30th of July. We do, if we get a lot of applications and good projects and we are funding these projects, if we run out of money before the 30th of July, we will close the fund. So we do encourage you to apply as soon as possible. so that you have that opportunity to be assessed according to how innovative your project is, or how necessary it is for scale up. So I think that's important to mention. Yes, you can go to the next screen, the next slide. So just to reconfirm, the documents we would like you to submit for this application is the concept note template that will be sent to you, and we require your signature that you have approved what you have submitted. Your self-assessment also with your signature, which will also be included in that email. The third document that we request you to submit is your cash flow statements from the last 12 months. The reason we would need this is to determine if you would be able to pay back part of the grant, so the returnable grant element, to ensure that when we go into such an agreement, we have the confidence that you can pay that back. So we request for that information as well. Just to highlight again, Tribota has mentioned it, if any of the documents are missing, unfortunately, we won't be able to assess your concept. We get a lot of concepts coming in, so we have to be fair to the people that do submit everything and make sure that they get the opportunity to be assessed accordingly. So do double check that you have submitted everything. And you can always check with us if there's anything that's not clear. So I think that's really what we would like to highlight about this business fund. We think it's a great opportunity for women businesses, and we hope that you have some interesting projects that you can submit to us on that. So thank you very much for giving us the time to present this.
Thank you so much, Claire, for the very informative and enriching session. I can see the feedback. I see how excited everyone is. So thanks to you, Namaya and Tribota, for the very great session. So now that the presentation is over, this is time for the Q&A session. I see that I think Namaya has been very active on the chat box already. So I'm just browsing to check if there are any questions that have gone unanswered. There are some questions about the PowerPoint presentation. Yes, do not worry, we will be sharing that with you. I think Namaya has been responding to a lot of questions about logistics. There's a question from Prisa, who's asking if someone can submit more than one application.
Yes, they can. They can submit 2 projects, so to say, but we will obviously assess that. If we see that 2 applications are coming through from the same company, we will look at that. We do want to give as much opportunity to different companies. So if they qualify maybe for one grant, we do take into account if they've received funding before, or if there's already some funding in place. So it is possible, but we do try and make sure that our funds are distributed amongst more companies.
Wonderful. That's good to know, Prisa, and I hope that answers your question. I'm just scrolling down. And thanks so much to Namaya, who's been actively responding to most of the questions here. I think there were questions about startups, which we already answered. This is a good question from Mavis, who's asking, what are the other similar documentation in place of cash flow statements? If there's something else that can be used, that would suffice.
I'm going to hand this over to Namaya to answer. Namaya, what other documents can they submit other than cash flow?
So in terms of the documents that need to be submitted, the main document obviously is the concept note, which helps us to assess. And then you also should submit the cash flow statements. And the reason we've requested for cash flow statements is to understand how your finances will come in and whether your company has the ability to pay back. So those would be the 2 main documents. But if you would also like to provide supplementary documents, which are optional, you could also provide like brief business plans, just to give us a better understanding of how your business model works. But I should also state that after you submit the concept note, and if you are successful, you will be required to complete a fuller proposal that gives us details. So that's really where the assessment will be done in for looking at your cash flow projections, and you'll also have an opportunity to make any adjustments in your projections. So at this stage, we're not expecting the full-fledged financial statements or anything like that, just the cash flows and the concept note. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Namaya. I see there were a lot of questions about this template for the concept note. And Claire, I wanted to confirm, can this be accessed via the website, or is this something that needs to be shared? Perfect.
Yes, so once everyone puts their name and company and submits their details in, that is for registration purposes, then you will be given the templates.
Excellent. So really encourage all of you to go register, and you will find the templates there. I know that was a common recurring question. There's one question from Brenda who's asking if aquaculture is included in the sectors that are being funded.
So I think aquaculture, if you can look at the criteria, so we look at it as improved nutrition, sustainable agriculture, and the other value chains like small livestock. Aquaculture, fish farming falls under small livestock. But if you are doing something that is in relation to nutritious food products or climate, it can also fall under that. So you could see where you fit in best according to your project.
Perfect, Brenda. Sorry.
And sorry, in the honey sector?
The honey sector, yes, that can also come in. I mean, honey is also in relation to agroforestry, depending on how the project is being developed. So it can fall under something like that as well. So I think as long as you can justify how you fit into those categories, then the different commodities or value chains is not relevant. So yeah, I think that's the most important.
Perfect. There's one question from Malenga who's asking, when it's said that individuals are not eligible, does this mean that sole proprietors are not eligible for this fund?
Sole proprietors. Yeah, so the idea is if you're a sole proprietor and you actually apply for this one, you have to be registered. So for example, if you're registered under PACRA, that would typically be a business name. So that would be acceptable. What we unfortunately can't accept is an individual just walking in and saying, this is my idea and I would like you to fund it. There has to be a registered entity attached to that individual for it to qualify for this particular facility.
Thank you so much, Namaya. That's good to know, and I hope that clarifies. I see a lot of questions, but I also know we're running out of time. Is it okay if we just use 5 more minutes? I want to check if that's okay with our speaker. Yes?
Yeah, no problem.
Wonderful. Yeah. A good question is, can the fund be used for purchasing equipment?
Sorry, I couldn't hear your question.
Sorry, so the question is, can the fund be used for equipment purchase? Can it be used to buy equipment, machinery, or any other inputs that are required?
Yes, that's possible. It would need to be justified, and also looking at the maximum of this grant, you would need to take that into account. So depending on what the machinery is used for, but yes, it can be qualified. We do see things like processing as a way of scaling up businesses, adding value. So there are opportunities for that.
Excellent. I'll just go quickly. So another one from Brenda. Under the returnable grant, did you mean that a company only gets to pay back 50% of the grant?
So that will be negotiated with each company individually, but that would be the maximum that we would be requesting for. So you would have 50% that would need to be paid back, but we could also have companies that will pay 100% back, depending on their capacity.
Perfect. I see a lot of questions based on the financial and back statements that were clarified. So maybe I can just go through two of them so that it helps, really clarify all concerns. Number one is that, the financial history is based on my construction business, but they want to now diversify into agriculture. Would that be okay?
Yes, that would be okay, but let me add a little bit of a disclaimer. If you are submitting for another business that's typically not your line of business where you've had revenues flowing, you would still have to submit cash flows projections so that we can have an idea of how the cash will flow. But I should also state that if you're doing a business that's different than what you've been doing, then you really have to justify and say that you have the necessary experience to take it forward. But we would still need cash flows. And I see a number of questions around, do you need, can we submit bank statements instead? Can we submit audited financials instead of the cash flows? Those documents will actually very nicely supplement the cash flows, but we will need cash flows. So if you do need support in terms of doing your cash flows, I would recommend that at this stage, we can't necessarily help you until you're shortlisted, but you get some help to get those in order. So if you have bank statements, that would be a good basis for you to get some help to develop cash flows, because that's the basis. We have to sort of compare like for like. And also it's just useful to know that. So I would recommend you have to submit cash flow statements.
Thank you so much, Nima, and I think that really clarifies all the other questions. I saw a series of them regarding financials required. So you really need to submit the cash flow statement, and as Namaya mentioned, there can be supplementary documents, but this is important. So I hope this clarifies. And maybe just a final question, which is, I will take this one from Prisa, since we work with a lot of cooperatives in Zambia. So just to confirm if co-ops can apply for this fund if they're eligible.
So if co-ops are registered as a business, then we see them as a business. The answer is yes. We see cooperatives as a business. They just need to show that they do operate as a business. So the same conditions apply. We need to see their cash flows. We need to see how they're doing business and how they're registered. So I think that's the most important.
Excellent. And just a final question to wrap this up is, if applications will be considered where activities or operations are happening on traditional land?
So I think there are things that we would have to look at. I mean, if it's on traditional land, who owns the land? So we would probably ask for some evidence that you are allowed to, conduct or operate that project on traditional land, so that you have permission for that, or that you have some kind of arrangement to do those operations there, because we do not want to invest in a project that later is then claimed by someone else, and that you cannot take your business forward. That's not good for us, but it's also not good for you. So we do look at those things. I think those are things that if you are shortlisted, we will look into that at a next stage. One thing that I haven't mentioned, and I think that I should just highlight this here, is that we are currently asking for concepts. So once you apply for that, and I think there were some questions about kind of the timeline. So once you apply with your concept, we will assess this on a rolling basis and get back to you. We anticipate that within 2 weeks of your application, you will get a response from us on the concept. Then if you are successful, we will ask you to submit a full proposal, which means that you would need to submit a bit more information. And based on that, we will make our final selection of who will be provided a grant. So there's two phases to this process. The first stage, which is the application you would fill in now, which is the concept. And then the successful applicants will be asked to submit a proposal as their final proposal to us. And if you are successful in that, you will get feedback from us on that. The ones that are not successful will receive an email saying that they were not successful. So you will receive information from us either way. That is only if you have completed all your documents accordingly. If you have not submitted everything, you will not receive any information because there's such an amount of companies applying. We will not be able to respond to the ones that have not completed all the documents. So I think that is just important to mention. Feel free to always contact us through our info email. We can always provide more clarification beyond this session.
Thank you so much, Claire. Thanks a lot to Chibota and Namaya as well. This was a wonderful session, but please do not go anywhere. We're just launching a quick poll that you'll be seeing on your screen. These are 4 questions, very, very simple to the point, to just help us understand, what was your experience with the webinar. We also want to know if you'd be applying to the fund so that we can really, we have Chireshe and Mubanga here who can, even be following up with you to make sure that you are applying, you have all the documentation in place. But please share your feedback with us, because it's really important for us to know how we can improve ourselves and the activities are useful and relevant for your businesses. I see a few of you responding already, but yes, wonderful. While we collect the poll answers, I just want to again thank Prospero for being such a wonderful partner, being so committed to gender lens financing, and always really pushing the needle. So it's been a pleasure to collaborate with you. We're really excited to see what we can do together, and very, very excited to see most of you, if not all of you, apply to this fund and hopefully really leverage it to grow and scale up your business operations. I see some very positive feedback. Thanks a lot to all of you for joining. We will be sharing the presentation slides and recording with you. But before that, please make sure you are filling your feedback, you are sharing your responses with us, because that's very, very important for us. I know that our Prospero speakers might be very busy. They might have to drop off. So I'll just give you the floor again in case you have any closing remarks for us.
I think just thank you very much, and feel free to contact us, or if you have any questions and contact SheTrades, they will also contact us for any follow-up. So we would like as many people to apply as possible, so you feel free to contact us on anything that's not clear. Thank you very much again.
Thank you so much, Claire. Thanks, Namaya and Chibota. Please feel free to drop off in case you have to go. We'll just hold on for another 2 minutes to make sure everyone's responded, and then close the session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. For the ones here, another 2 minutes. There are still, I would say, 10 of you who have not responded. So please share your feedback with us, and then we close the session and let you all go.